Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Namaste. Today we're going to talk about magnets. I've been thinking a lot about magnets. Most of you know that I've been performing a magic show lately. And though I'm not going to give anything away specifically, I will say that some of the tricks involve magnets. They hold things together. They allow some of these effects to take place. But they're illusions. The items that the magnets are holding together are meant to create a false reality. They're meant to make you see something that isn't really there. And I was thinking about that in relation to the magnets that keep our personality locked with what we are experiencing and therefore make it seem very personal. We personalize what we're experiencing. We think it's happening to us and we give great value to it. But what's really happening is there's this magnetic pull, a magnetic attraction that keeps that in place. And without that magnetic pull, we would be able to distance ourselves ever so slightly from what we seem to be experiencing, and therefore to see it in a new way, to see it in a different way, a way that is more real or more in alignment with what is really happening. So, for example, if something happens to us, if we experience something that someone says something or whatever it may be, we take it personally because that magnetic pull keeps it personalized, right? In fact, Bill Free talked about this a couple of days ago. He said the key is really to allow that distance between what seems to be happening and my response to it, so I can be able to look at it from an impersonal, more distant space. I'm not seeing it, this is happening to me. Rather, I can say, this is what's happening. And I can look at it and experience it from a new perspective. And therefore, I don't have to react to it. I don't have to even feel. In fact, I've been practicing this myself lately. And what I have experienced is like an instant calm. The instant I'm able to separate, to pull away from, and not personalize an experience. Even if it's something that even seconds before created some upset or some energy that was uncomfortable, the instant I'm able to allow that distance to be created and to observe it, to be the observer of it, but not necessarily to experience it in a personal way, peace comes to me instantly. And I realize that this is the solution, to begin to impersonalize the experience, much as we've been talking about the impersonalized or the impersonal God. We've been reading a lot from this new book that I did, The Impersonal Light. And in that, over and over and over, it says that God is not this personalized being, this entity that is personally involved in what you think you're doing or what you think you need. It gives you everything because it is not concerned about what the specifics are, right? It gives you everything that you ask. And so it's the same thing with us. When we allow that magnetic pull, which always keeps us locked in our personality with the experience. And so whatever is happening, it's happening to me. I experience it, I feel it, I'm upset, I'm happy, whatever it may be. But when I allow space, by simply in my mind, stepping back and looking at it from the viewpoint of the observer, peace is the result. So I want to talk about that today because it is simple, by the way. It's not a complicated, difficult thing to do. You can do it instantly. In fact, the moment that you notice the upset or feel that magnetic attraction of your personality to the experience, all you have to do is just take a breath and just pull back. This experience is not happening to me in a personal way unless I choose for it to happen to me in a personal way. And if I do that, I'm going to have whatever reaction I have, happy, sad. But if I can pull away from it, then the impersonal nature of my own soul, which is a mirror of the impersonal nature of the divine, can observe it from a place of peace and can rest. I can simply rest. Have whatever experience I have. So, I'm going to begin this discussion and we'll just see where it goes. I'm going to turn to Vicky now and see what this initiates in her. This idea of not being pulled like those magic tricks together to create an illusion, because that's what the magic tricks do. They hold something together to create the illusion of something that's not really there. And when we can separate it, we can see what really is there. And the same thing is true with us. So Vicky, what does that inspire within you?
I love this, Jimmy, because the magnet is how we identify as bodies. When any trauma or anything, good or bad, not necessarily always bad, we're identified with the body and we think we respond in whatever way. The function I feel of the holy instant is to give us the space as a way, as a practice, so that when we bump into an old ego identity pattern that's stuck in us, instead of immediately responding to it, there's that space to let light in, to let the light of awareness. That's how Bill would say it, that if we practice awareness or the holy instant, and I remember you liked that prayer that I read that came from Marianne, may the holy instant be my whole way of life, my whole way of mind, my whole way of everything, because then I'm living in the spaciousness of the light. And when the magnet is triggered for an old whatever identity, and that's all it ever is, some old identity that isn't the identity of love, it isn't the identity of the light. When those things are still believed in us, then there are trauma points that will reflect that identity choice. That's why Jesus says choose again, because when we bump into an identity choice, when we've practiced spaciousness, we have the mindset to be able to allow ourselves to look at it without falling into the ditch. And then we can simply allow it. That's what all of this healing is. Allow it to be what it is. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let it come in. And if it upsets me, hurts me, delights me, whatever it does, not to identify with it, but to stay in the spaciousness with it. And what's false has to fall away, because nothing was sustaining it other than my belief that this was my identity. So the practice of the holy instant gives us, for me, gives us that spaciousness, or the practice of present awareness would be another way to say it.
The identity must identify. That's what it does. It has to be linked with whatever it thinks is happening and then react to it, excuse me, in a manner that seems appropriate to the identity, but the identity is never right. That's the thing about the ego identity, the split identity, is that it's never right about what it thinks is happening. So it interprets because it has identified itself with what it thinks is happening, and then interprets what it thinks is happening from a false perspective, as opposed to the peace that comes when we just allow that space and just relax and watch, and whatever happens happens. Once again, the identity must identify, but this is always about the release of my identity. The identity is simply who I think I am, who I seem to be, based upon what I think is happening. The two become one. But when I allow that space to just rest, and I can rest in that space, then I can observe. I can just be the observer. Whatever is happening, as you said, Vicky, good or bad. It doesn't really matter what it is. But I can enjoy it on a whole nother level if I just allow that space to rest there and to not identify my own identity with what I think is happening. Teddy, how about you? What do you think?
Well, first of all, thank you for bringing this up. It really did open my mind and remind me basically the whole workbook of A Course in Miracles is nothing but us trying to free ourselves from thinking we are our thoughts rather than knowing we are the love of God as a soul. And because we don't know who we are and we needed the Course, we think we are our thoughts, which is why Jesus could say, love your neighbor as yourself, love your brother. What he's talking about is our brothers are not their thoughts. Our brothers are the souls that we were created with and as one with. And that is always lovable because that is what love is. And the thoughts that we think, and the thoughts that we think our brother thinks are not who they are. And we can, if we don't know that and haven't experienced that, we can get into conflict with our brother over our thinking rather than be in peace and harmony with our brothers because of who we were all created to be. And it basically comes down to that. Knowing who we are as souls, knowing who we are as love, we can love our neighbors as we love ourselves. Thinking that our neighbor is his thoughts and what he thinks about puts that at odds because none of our thoughts mean anything. His thoughts don't mean anything. And instead of recognizing that our thoughts don't mean anything, the projection the ego causes is the projection of that outward onto our brother's thoughts, and we think our brother's thoughts mean nothing. And then we form opinions based on the thinking that those thoughts have meaning or they're nothing. So it's really good to see that we're not our thoughts. And that's like the first, 50 lessons of A Course in Miracles. The thoughts you think have nothing to do with reality. They're of your own making and do not exist. And that's not who we are. But we are a mind who can think. And we can refocus and turn our minds away from the thoughts and back to questioning who we are in reality, who we are as one with God, and experience that.
I love this. Thank you. Now, Calico is up in her room right now, and yes, she is on, as you can see, waving. She put her hand up, so I'd love to hear what Calico's thinking. Calico, make sure you unmute yourself. There you go.
This is so timely. I just finished like a 4-day meditation retreat where we would meditate for a long period of time together, and then if we felt to share, we would. And one of the things on the first day, let me just say this. Back when I was in hospice, I got labeling my symptoms actually was not helpful. Sharing any symptoms with anybody was not helpful. And I really kind of played with this all along. And this retreat was great because I went into it and I had some degree of nausea the whole 4 days. And during the first session, I actually shared I have some nausea. And then this last day of meditation, it was so profound. I felt like Holy Spirit was in front of a chalkboard going, okay, this is what's happening. And it's like, there is nothing in the space until I label it. And once I label it, it becomes a concept that I believe. So, every time I'd say, and again, I'm in meditation, it's like, okay, there's nausea. What is nausea? It's a story. It's a story from the past of an experience. So it really, when I'm staying very present, I could see this parallel path of there's nothing in the space until I say, I have nausea. And it's like, and I'm creating it. I'm basically throwing it out there going, yep, I know what this is. I've had it before, and here we go. And it was really just such a mind trip to really stay with this idea of anything I speak is going to create my reality. It's got to. And so it's a whole new concept, and I'm just kind of playing with it at a much deeper level. And I just thought it was so appropriate to what you were sharing. It's like our thoughts are very powerful, and our concepts seem very real, but it's always based on some previous story. And so it's just kind of like seeing it. I mean, all I can do right now, I haven't made any conclusions. I can just see it. It's like, I'm fine. I say I have nausea. And then there's this experience of nausea, but it's all based on a past experience. So I just had to share that for me. And it was like a 4-day process, and it was very powerful. So thank you. Namaste.
Thank you, Calico. Yeah, what I'm getting from that is I talked about the magnets. Like in a magic trick, the magnets can hold something together to create an illusion that is not really there. And the magnet in all of these examples it's the past. What I think happened to me in the past, and how I then bring the past, or at least try to bring the past into the present moment. As you described, Calico, I've had this before, I've experienced this before, therefore it is what I believe it to be. But when I allow space to be there, to relax, so I can relax and see it as it is now, rather than based upon my past associations, I experience it in a new way. So thank you. This is great discussion. I think this is just something for us all to be aware of, that whatever seems to be happening, if we identify with it immediately, we're going to be lost in that thing, rather than just stepping back. Or as Vicky said, choose again, choose to see it in a new way. Just take a deep breath, relax, pull back from it. You're going to instantly find a sense of peace come about you. And you're going to be able to see it in a way that you couldn't have seen it if you were like eye to eye with it, with that magnetic trap. So here's what we're going to do. I've been talking to people about the sessions, and instead of just opening things up and just saying who wants to say something, we're not going to do that anymore. I'm going to just look out and see. I look at the faces on Zoom, or I look out here at Namaste, and I can see sparkles around people, and that somehow I always know when there's something that does need to be shared. But since Annie did raise her hand, I'm going to go ahead and start with her, because I do see some sparkles around her head. So, and actually I see a beautiful heart around your head as well. So Annie, go right ahead.
Hi, Jeannie.